Hey you guys, welcome to my channel. So today I want to talk to you about 4 things that you must include in your budget. So no matter how frugal you're trying to be, there are a few categories that should and kind of have to be in your budget. So there are needs in your budget and there are wants in your budget. And needs are necessities that almost everyone has to spend money on every single month. And wants, well, they're more kind of like fun luxury purchases. So today I want to talk to you about how to determine what qualifies as an essential purchase and how you can confidently cover those needed expenses while you're making progress with your other money goals. So first, let's talk about the difference between needs versus wants, because this is a part of budgeting that everyone must master no matter what income you bring in, because, well, they can get very convoluted in today's world. So what I always call your 4 walls are your needs, okay? So these are things you have to have, which is food, housing, utilities, and transportation. Everything else is a want in life, and they're not necessary to survive. Like, we are talking survival here. And sometimes, again, these are very obvious, like a new designer bag obviously is a want, but sometimes the lines can be a little bit blurry, like for instance, food is takeout. Food a necessity, or is it more of a luxury? So even within those 4 walls, there can be luxuries. So you want to be aware of them. Now, of course, there are some other examples of wants like concert tickets and subscription boxes and traveling, expensive hobbies, monthly nail appointments, luxury cars, daily stops at your local coffee shop, going to the movies, like all of that, right? So those are all things that you don't have to have. So I think it'd be really helpful to go back to last month, look at your checking account online and go through every line item, and just say, okay, what were things that we had to have or we wouldn't survive? And it can be pretty convicting, but it also can be very helpful because you'd be like, okay, for a season, can we just cut this stuff out? And what's crazy is if you cut your wants out long enough, you may not even want them back. So again, go through and actually just look at it, because the key here is you want margin back in your budget, because you want to be able to be working on getting out of debt. You want to be working on saving up for an emergency fund. And all of those things are in the Ramsey baby steps. The very first step is to get $1,000 saved, $1,000. So be cutting things out of your life to get some extra cash in to save that $1,000. Then you're going to keep cutting things like that, maybe even getting a side hustle, and you're going to be putting that towards paying off debt. And then an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses, which is baby step 3. And once all that is done, you can bring some things back into your life. But looking at your needs versus wants, you guys, and cutting way back in your budget is going to help you so much. So there are some wants, that we all have in our budget. And so for Winston and I, oh my gosh, it was for sure food. Going out to eat for us was such a luxury. And we were like, okay, so we slowed that down for a season. There were things that we went through. And we're like, okay, we're not going to go do all the extra splurges because we were saving up for a house. We've had some financial goals. And again, it's crazy because at first it kind of hurts. It's like, oh man. But then once you live without it for a while, you're like, okay, I think we can do this. So it's a powerful thing, but I'm telling you guys, find that margin. Okay, next, I want to break down the 4 walls that I mentioned earlier and explain to you why you truly do need them in your budget. So first up is food. You guys, it's a necessity, isn't it? Yes. But the lines can be a little blurry because food can be like all over the map, right? Like we can be talking like eating at home, rice and beans, all the way up to like a nice steak dinner, right? So I'm like, they can run the gamut. So listen, I know it can be hard because we all love pizza delivery, Chick-fil-A, like all of these things, but restaurants and Uber Eats, they don't count as necessities. They are not needs. So while you're getting out of debt, pull back from going out to eat and take out. And especially food delivery services, you guys, golly, you spend so much money on fees doing that. So again, while you are getting out of debt and you're paying off your debt or you're saving up for your emergency fund, this is a great place to find margin. And it's a great thing too, because you'll be grocery shopping more, but you'll be eating at home and saving money. So listen, this isn't all bad news, because what if you saw this as a fun challenge to be like, okay, what recipes can we do? Can we do breakfast for dinner? My kids love that and it's super cheap. Do taco night, do spaghetti, like get these meals in rotation. And again, it's not gonna be forever, but for some months, just say, hey, we're going to really pare it down. Now, my friend Jade Warshaw paid off almost $500,000 of debt with her husband, Sam. And she is one of the biggest believers, though, that you don't have to skimp on quality meals just because you're on a budget. So listen, from her, she has done this in a really fantastic way. So I want you to learn some new tricks and try out a new couponing app or whatever you have to do to make this fun, to make this enjoyable for a season, and to know that it is going to be some sacrifice. All right, the next category in your four walls is shelter or housing. So this can either be your rent or your mortgage. So when you put together your rent or your mortgage, property taxes, home insurance, and HOA fees, we always say a good rule of thumb is that you don't want to spend more than 25% of your take-home pay on all of that. Now, this is important because you need a place to live. So you want to make sure that you're taking care of that. You're paying your rent, you're paying your mortgage. You don't want to get behind on those things. But you also don't want those things eating up half of your income. So if you're bringing in money, but half of it is going to your rent or your mortgage, you're not going to have a lot of money left to be able to pay for the other necessities in your life, but also to be able to use your income to do things like paying off debt or saving up for your emergency fund or other things in life. So again, paring back that. So you may realize, oh my gosh, we have way too much house. Wow, I'm living in an area that is way too expensive for my income. It may mean changing a couple of things, but it is worth it. It is worth it. I don't want your home to be a curse. I want it to be a blessing. And if it's 25% of your take-home pay, that does give you some breathing room to do extra things with your income. All right, before I share the other budget necessities, I want to tell you about a fun game, Tapple. Tapple is a really fun game, you guys. What you do is you just pick a category and the board has a bunch of letters around it, and every person on a team goes around and says a word with the letter that starts with that word is on the board, and you press it down, and there's a timer. And what happens is if you don't get a word within 10 seconds, the timer goes off, your team loses, the other team wins, and it is so fun. You know, some games I do love because it's just like social and relaxing and enjoyable. This one has like a touch more like competitiveness because there's a timer. And when I hear a timer, I'm like, oh my gosh, game on, game on. My like adrenaline already starts going. Like I love a good competitive game. And this one doesn't have to get too competitive. It can be fun and easygoing, but also if you want to get hardcore, it can be very competitive. So start making memories today and purchase Tapple at Walmart or wherever you buy board games. All right, the next of the four walls is utilities. So this category includes everything that goes along with your housing. So this is water, gas, electricity, trash service, phone plan, internet. I mean, like all the things that cost you money. And since these costs can fluctuate month to month, take the average of the last few months and use that estimate up front in your budget. Then if you come in a little under budget, you can adjust that category, or if it comes in more, like your water bill was higher, then put it up, and then that means you're going to have to find a few more dollars from a different category. But what's key here is that these things are covered. Again, these are necessities. Even before you pay your debt, these things need to be covered. We don't want your lights shut off or your water shut off, so take care of those utilities. It's really important. And remember, streaming services do not qualify as necessities. I know, Reese and Jen, they will be waiting for you on Apple TV when you return, I promise. It is difficult, but save that money while you can. All right, finally, the fourth category in your four walls is transportation. So this is going to include gas for your car, public transportation, routine maintenance on your vehicles, like whatever you have going on with your car to make sure that you're able to get to and from work. Again, for some of you, it's public transportation, that you have a way to do that because you have to be able to go to work, to be able to make money, to be able to do all the things we're talking about. So yeah, a plane ticket to Disney sadly does not count in transportation. So listen, if you have a car and you have a massive car payment that you can't pay off in 12 months to 18 months, if it's more than half of your annual income, get rid of it. Get rid of it. Sell it. If you take a loss, then take a small payment out for that and then a beater car that you're going to buy on the side. I mean, you would rather have an $8,000 loan than a $42,000 car loan. When you look at the math, if you want to get out of debt fast, the car is usually the thing that you can sell and get ahead on this stuff because you can always go buy a car again. You can always upgrade a car later when you actually have the money, but it's not worth staying in debt, losing sleep at night, feeling stressed, having your income go out to a car payment consistently. So again, if you can't pay it off in 12 to 18 months, or if it's more than half of your annual income, get rid of it. So here's the thing, you guys. When you understand and start implementing your four walls into budgeting, it makes this process even a little bit easier because you create these four walls. You make sure all of your needs are covered, which is so great. And then you get to create a spending plan underneath that. So cover those needs, then throw everything else you have at your debt, and then start dreaming about your wants again. And go through and say, okay, what other things are in there? Because there are some things like childcare, insurances. I mean, there are some big ticket items there that are going to probably feel like needs too, right? That you're going to want to put But don't go add in all the luxuries or all the things that you're like, yes, we can cut out those wants. Keep them cut out until you are out of debt and have your emergency. So now that you know about the 4 things that everyone should include in their budget, it's time to actually make one yourself. So go to the EveryDollar app because it is the perfect tool to help you get started. Download it today and plug in those 4 walls. And make sure to send this video to a friend who appreciates some helpful budgeting tips. And remember, you guys, to take control of your money and create a life you love.